Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 556.com. My name is Matt Kilgo. I will be your host, your village idiot, your ringleader tonight. Tonight we're going to have with us Don Towers from Adventure Outdoor. Georgia Carey's a firearms instructor. We've got Mariana Wegener, who is our web guru, who will be directing everything for us tonight and running our PowerPoint, answering questions. She's a big gun enthusiast. We have Tori Loren, who is the marketing sales director for Alpha Bravo Armory in Roswell, Georgia. She's going to answer some questions and give us some feedback about new gun owners. And then we've got Lana Four. Lana is the regional director for U.S. Law Shield, which is a legal defense program. Now, full disclosure, I am the state attorney for U.S. Law Shield, and Alpha Bravo Armory and Adventure Outdoor are both facilities. So we all know Law Shield. We all respect what they're doing. We're all members, and we all work with them. That's kind of what we're going to do tonight. A little bit about the program. We're going to start. This is mostly for new gun owners, but we have a lot of good information on defending your castle in a time of social distancing. We wanted to pick a topic that appealed to everybody since we're all at home and being driven nuts by our kids. They're watching right now. I love you. My mom's also watching. Hi, Mom. So we want to jump right in. Don, are you there? Did you join us by phone? Don has not joined us by phone yet. Okay. Well, without further ado, we'll skip over Don for the moment and we'll go right to Tori Loren. Tori, say hello to everyone.
Hi, guys.
Tori is the sales and marketing manager for Alpha Bravo Armory in Roswell, Georgia. She's fantastic at what she does. She's helped us a lot. Just, you know, she's one of the younger shooters in the group. But she's got a lot of great practical experience. Tori, let's just talk about what you're seeing right now over at Alpha Bravo with new gun owners coming in, with the virus, panic buying. Has that been an issue for you?
Yes, very much so. I do feel that we're going to have a lot of spouses that are going to be angry later on, and we're going to have some returns. But for now, yes, it is very fear-driven, which is a majority of the way people buy guns anyways, which sucks. But yeah, it's really fear driven, and right now they don't really get the one-on-one attention that we would normally be able to give them to like ease them into shooting and explain to them everything that they need to know, and protecting themselves at the home, where to store their gun, how to store their gun, all this stuff, because it's kind of a get in, get out situation, because we just, you know, you don't want to be around people right now.
No, I get it. And Don has joined us. I had to unmute him. Can you hear me, Don?
Can you hear me?
I absolutely. Hello. Don Towers, NRA instructor, retired U.S. Army major, West Point graduate, and he heads up the training at Adventure Outdoor in Smyrna, Georgia. We kind of skipped over you, Don. We're going to let Tori do a little bit of a presentation, but you're going to back her up.
Go right ahead.
Stay close because there's a lot of overlap in what both of you guys, I think, can give to the audience. Tori, tell us what are some of the biggest concerns of brand new gun owners that are coming in. What kind of questions are you getting?
I've had a lot of people ask, or they're really concerned with the gun going off. And I do want to kind of just set the record straight here. In TV shows and movies, when they do drop the firearm and it goes off, that was an error that some guns did have years ago, but all of the guns nowadays have internal safeties in there, so they don't do anything like that. So it's just sorry, I'm like echoing right now. Okay. But yeah, so it's not a thing that happens anymore, and you're never going to accidentally pull the trigger. Like, if you don't touch the trigger, it's not going to go off. So a lot of people have that fear that the gun's just going to go off. But if you have it in a holster and everything like that, you should be fine. A lot of people have questions about what their first firearm should be. And it really depends on, you know, if you're going to conceal carry or if it's for home defense. Because home defense, you can go as big as you want to go, because you're not trying to hide the gun. This is your home. You're legally allowed to have it in there. If you pass the background check, you're good to go. So those are the two main questions I get. People who are new shooters, they don't know what to get. And once they get it, they don't really know exactly the parameters of how it operates.
Okay. When you have folks come in, are you having a lot of them say, look, I'm a brand new shooter. I don't even plan on using this, but should I still have a gun? Are you getting those types of questions?
We get those questions a lot, like just in general. If anybody ever asks me, like, should I own a gun? I ask them what they think they need a gun for. If it's for, like, if they've had a lot of break-ins in their neighborhood and everything like that, obviously they want to protect themselves. But it does get to the point where you have to ask them, are you prepared to shoot someone? Because you're owning a firearm. You can't just have it as a fear factor. You have to be ready and just understand that this is going to have to happen if the time should arise.
Okay. What types of best practices can you share with our group right now? If you just brought home a gun, you don't have a place to practice, what do we need to be looking for right now?
Right now it's definitely a very scary time if you are fearful and you just purchased a firearm and you didn't get to practice it at the range or shoot or anything like that. So what I would do is I would honestly just go online and look up a bunch of videos. There are millions of YouTube videos out there of how to shoot, how to hold the pistol, everything like that. And usually the ones with the most views are the ones that are good. Like if it's got like 100 views on it, you probably shouldn't watch it. If it's got like 1,000,000 views on it, like go ahead and take a look at it. Also, there's a lot of certified trainers out there who will break everything down for you. And it's still really scary when you can't be as hands-on with it, but just know that the most trained professionals, if somebody's going to come into their house and break in, they're not going to be all cool, calm, and collected. We're all sweating, we're all freaking out. We don't have a chance to put on our eye and ear protection. So it's going to be really loud, adrenaline's going to be pumping, and it's going to be a really scary time. But, you know, if you have something to protect yourself and you feel confident in yourself that you can use that firearm to just point and shoot, then you'll be good. It's going to be scary regardless, but you should be fine.
I think that's great. That's great information. Dawn, can you add to that? Anything you'd like to tell the group? Don? Let's see if we lost him again.
So, Tori, do you have any favorite videos that you've watched? Because I know you're a relatively new shooter like I am. Who have you found, enjoyable, entertaining, memorable?
So I'm a big Glock fan, and there's Glock Girl Tori, which I think is really funny because her name is Tori and we are matching names. So she's got a lot of fun videos out there. So I usually watch her stuff. Yay, Dawn's back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that I say check mark yes on everything that Tori said. One of the things that I get a lot of, and I know Tori does too, and that is, well, what gun should I buy? And it's a tough question to answer. Some people have a little bit of experience. Some people have zero. Here's what I say to people that are just getting their first gun. I really recommend a medium framed, either a 9mm or possibly a 380 semi-auto, or I'd recommend a medium frame 38 special, such as a K-frame, like a Model 64. They're easier to shoot. If you really want to go ahead and get a shotgun, go for it. If you want to get an AR-15 type gun, go for it. Shotguns and ARs, long guns, are a little more complicated functionally, a little more training. The learning curve's a little bit higher. Handguns are great. They're portable, easy to store, and I think overall I recommend people start there if they're getting their very first gun. I am not going to sneeze at somebody who wants to get their shotgun or their AR. Those are great home defense options as well. Just recognize you've got a little bit of a learning curve, more so with a shotgun and an AR, just a little more complicated guns, in my opinion. So I would that's kind of what I recommend to people, and that's what I would sort of say to everybody that's listening. Now, if you've got a gun, then you need to start, like Tori said. I would chime in there exactly. I would endorse what she said. Go first of all, read your manual. Definitely read the manual. If you don't have a manual, then you should be looking at websites that describe the gun, and YouTube videos that are good YouTube videos that show disassembly, how the gun operates. And like Tori said, there are a lot of videos out there that talk about how to grip the gun, how to do proper sight alignment, sight picture, stance, all those kinds of things that you'll find out there. I'm going to endorse my website, Adventure Outdoors, and my specific. If you do Facebook, I have an Adventure Outdoors firearms training page, and I've actually sifted through videos and linked them on there along with some articles that I think are very useful. You can do a lot of stuff at home. You can get ammo out of the room. You can manipulate the gun. You can actually do dry fire, paste a target onto the wall 10 feet away, make sure there's no ammo, and you can practice with the gun, do a lot of stuff with manipulation and practicing your sight picture, just dry firing there in your bedroom 10 feet away. And so I would recommend doing that. Of course, you got to get out to the range eventually. You've got to find an instructor, got to find a gun guy or a gun gal that's going to take you out and do some practice with you. And that there's really no substitute for that. So eventually you're going to have to go out and do that.
That's an interesting.
Okay, I have some slides here too. Okay. Oh,
we're running through those as you talk. Don's on his phone. He's at work right now at Adventure Outdoor and stole some time away to.
And we're selling guns. We're selling guns like hotcakes over here too. So, one thing that I kind of glossed over that you had a slide, and that is really first do no harm, and that means be safe. So really learn those 4 lifestyle rules. All guns are loaded. Never point a muzzle at anything you're not willing to destroy. Keep your finger out of the trigger until you've gotten on target and you're ready to fire. And finally, be sure of your target. We don't ever shoot at noises in the dark. We make sure that whatever we're shooting at is we're supposed to shoot at. If it's a bad guy or if it's a target downrange we're supposed to shoot, make sure you know what you're shooting at. So those are important, and you really ought to practice those and think about those all the time. Okay, I'm done with those. If you want to move on to another slide.
Right. One of the most important things I tell my classes is you are responsible for the natural consequence of your actions, which is so important.
We're launching bullets, and those bullets will continue to move until they strike something and stop forward movement. So you're responsible for every bullet that leaves your firearm. And so whether it hits a neighbor's house or a neighbor's little girl, that's on you.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. To back up what Tori and what Don have said is, I tell folks all the time, when they ask what type of gun should I use, I say the type of gun you should use is the type of gun you're comfortable with. And the only way you become comfortable with a firearm is by the firearm.
Absolutely. You got to practice with the gun.
Got to practice with it. You're talking about medium frame 9mm, Glock, Sauer, Ruger makes some fantastic firearms in that frame. There's no good or bad firearm. It's comfortable with.
One thing I could mention, if you already have a gun, and it might be an older gun, it might be an old revolver, it might be a single shot shotgun or a .22 rifle, those are options. Those will work. You can start there, and there's nothing wrong with that. Dust off that old gun if you got one. Figure it out. Go look up the gun. Go find a manual. Go read up on it on the web, and you can actually operate an older gun, and it will work.
And the best thing to do is find someone to instruct you, like Don Towers at firearms training at adventureoutdoors.com.
That's right, and they can email me at firearms training, the @ advout, advout.com, and I'm happy to have them email me, and I'll provide all kinds of information, and maybe we'll get some classes together when we eventually start classes. And also that Facebook page is really good. Just go ahead and like that Facebook page. They can message me on that Facebook page as well.
Well, we posted that up for everyone, Don, and everyone's got your email address. And for those of you who are in attendance, there are handouts available. There should be an ability for you to download the handouts, and one of those will be the PDF version of the presentation tonight. So we should put that together, make sure we can get that to you.
Hey, Matt, can I close with one other point?
Absolutely, Don.
One thing that you need to think about is it's not all about the guns at all. It is also thinking about tactics. How am I going to defend my castle? Where's my loved ones going to go? How am I going to move around in the house? Am I going to go to a safe room? How am I going to access my firearm? These are questions. How am I going to access my firearm? Do I have a flashlight? The answer is yes. You should have a flashlight next to your gun. What are my tactics and strategies? And they could be very simple. These are things that you need to ask, and then you need to fit to your home, however your home's set up. And there's a lot of information and videos, and I have a couple of those linked on my Facebook page that you can look and you can start learning some of those things, some of those very, very simple tactics. And it's not all about guns. It's about learning when it is appropriate to shoot, when it is not appropriate to shoot.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks, Don. Tori, anything you'd like to jump in on and piggyback on what Don said?
I did have a bunch of people ask like how to store their guns. So like for me, I understand that it's very important to have a good storage plan, especially if there's children in the house. But for me personally, I just kind of leave mine lying around the house in the holster. Like literally, it's not loaded right now, but I have mine in the holster just sitting on my dresser or somewhere. But that's because I know no one in the house is going to touch it. So for me, I want to make sure that my gun is easily accessible to me. I have another gun in my bedside table right now. And I normally will carry it with me every day in the car because I don't feel comfortable going to a gas station without being armed. I always carry this when I'm at work, but I always have it in a place where it's accessible to me. So a lot of people I hear, they're like, okay, put your ammo over here, put a magazine over here, and put your gun over here. And I'm thinking, if I don't have enough time to ask the intruder if I can put eye and ear protection on, I really don't think I'm gonna have enough time to be able to be like, hold on, I just needed ammo for it and the magazine. Just 1 second, it'll be fine. Just hold on a second. So I feel that if you can put it out of reach, if you have a plan to if you want to have it locked with a key, just practicing, if you've got a safety on your firearm, taking the safety on and off, being able to know that, like muscle memory, being able to put the key in the lockbox to open it up and grab it easily, and then knowing whether it's loaded or not loaded to just rack it, everything like that, having a plan and running through that, especially right now when you are home and you have time to be like, okay, let's pretend that there is somebody breaking into the house, let's go over the steps that we need to take. And letting the rest of your family know, all right, if you're over 10 years old, there's a gun in the house. If you're over 12, 13 years old, maybe letting them know where the gun is so that if they are skilled to use it, then they could help out. But obviously letting people know in the house where it's located if they were to need it and how to get to it if there was an emergency.
I think that's a good point. The plan for our family is different. I know you don't have kids. I've got a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old. The 10-year-old has been trained by one of our future panelists, one of our current attendees, Todd Droege. He's a better shot than I am. The 14-year-old is a better shot than I am. Everybody in my family is a better shot than I am. But they know that I have a pistol. They're not to touch unless or until an adult is present. They know that I carry, and they know not to talk about the fact that I carry. They know that I carry in a certain way. They know that I carry Israeli style. So there's no round in the chamber. And I've practiced with that for many years now to be able to effectively protect my family carrying that way. But the reason I do it is because I have 2 kids in the car with me most of the time. The older they become, the more comfortable they are with firearms, the less likely I am to carry in that fashion. It all depends on your current situation. You're the only one in your home. I think it's perfectly fine to do that. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable with the way that you carry and putting in place a plan that's good for you. Obviously the plan's a little bit different for me. That's the plan for you. And that's the thing is, you have to tell new gun owners, every plan is different. And don't be afraid to ask. I've talked to so many people who are afraid to ask questions about their firearms. well, I don't want to look stupid. No, you would be surprised. Gun owners want to share their knowledge. Gun owners want other gun owners to be responsible. So it's always been my experience that I'm happy to answer questions, and those that I have asked questions of, many of whom are our attendees tonight. I call up Bruce Greenfield and Don Towers all the time. Hey, I got a question about the law. Hey, I've got a question about a firearm. Can you help me? Todd Drogy's the same way. They're happy to share their knowledge because they want everyone to be better. So you'll find those folks. If you need folks, email me. I'll get you a list. There's folks all over Atlanta, all over Georgia, all over the country that I can put you in touch with who will help you come up with a plan that's good for you. So that's fantastic knowledge. Thank you, Tori. Thank you, Don. I hope Don's sticking around. He may be off break now, so he may be gone. Let me jump in real quick. We're going to talk a little about defending your castle. This is new gun owners, experienced gun owners alike. Everyone has this opportunity to defend themselves. When we talk about defending your castle, some of the things, there are two main topics we want to talk about. A lot of folks ask me about the Castle Doctrine. What is the Castle Doctrine and how can I use it to protect my family? Is Georgia a stand your ground state? And yes, we are stand your ground. The Castle Doctrine does apply here in Georgia. We'll go through that a little bit. The most basic concept is the defense of self. In Georgia, you can protect yourself or any other person with a firearm, an edged weapon, metal pipe, baseball bat, anything you can. Or any other person, whether you know them or not, from that type of harm. You're justified in threatening force, back away, I don't want to hurt you, I will protect myself, using force itself, punching, kicking, slapping, biting, and in fact, you can be justified under certain circumstances in using deadly force. Deadly force in Georgia is that force which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm. Intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm. You can always use deadly force to protect yourself or any person from death or great bodily injury or from the commission of a forcible felony. And you should see that these, the PowerPoint's running right below, and we'll be, as I said, happy to give you copies of that. Mariana, if you could push us ahead a couple of slides. Let's see what else we've got to cover here. We talked about the justification of defense. If you use deadly force to protect yourself and you're justified in doing so, you cannot be found guilty of a crime. Even if you're charged and prosecuted, if the judge or the jury should find that you were justified in using that deadly force, then you can't be convicted. Now, that does not mean you cannot be arrested. And that's a distinction that I have to make all the time with folks that I represent and folks that I speak to. Just because you're immune doesn't mean you can't be arrested. And if you want that immunity, you've got to go out and get it, which means you need to find an attorney who is, I won't say expert, but an attorney who knows what he or she is doing, who's worked in these self-defense issues before, because you have to file motions, you have to interview witnesses, and you have to prepare to present that information to a judge or a jury yourself. So inside your castle, let's talk about your castle for a few minutes. And your castle, we call that your habitation. It can be your home, it can be your car, it can be your place of business, where you live, where you work, and how you get to where you live and work. Those three places have special significance in the law because of the way that you can protect yourself, protect your family, protect your guests. So inside your castle, you're justified, which means the law excuses your actions. Go back one slide for me. There we go. You're justified when someone attempts to enter your home or actually enters your home violently and tumultuously, beating down the front door, breaking a window. They don't have to get all the way through the door. It just like in The Shining, when Jack took that axe to the bathroom window and stuck that hairy eyeball up to that crack, Wendy didn't have to wait for him to get into the bathroom before she protected herself. You don't have to wait until the bad guys cross the threshold. Now, obviously, from a legal perspective, you've got a little more footing if they're in the house, but at the same time, if you can present the evidence that they attempted to enter your home violently and you had a reason to believe you had to protect against violence inside, you're justified in using deadly force. That's the first example. The second, You can use force, deadly force, against someone who is not a member of your family, who has unlawfully and forcibly entered your home, or you have a reason to believe has unlawfully and forcibly entered your home. Middle of the night, you hear something in the basement, you hear something in the downstairs, dead of night, someone comes walking up your stairs. You don't know who that person is. If that person doesn't belong to you, you haven't allowed them entry into your home, you have a reasonable belief they're there to commit a crime, you can go ahead and protect yourself and protect your family. And as always, you can use deadly force if you have a reasonable belief someone has entered to commit a felony in your home. You come home, you walk through the front door, someone's in your living room with your television. That could be a burglary, could be a felony theft, any type of home invasion, which is a recent change in Georgia law. For many, many years, we didn't have a charge called home invasion. We now do have one of those. All of those crimes are considered felonies, forcible felonies, and if you have a belief that you must protect yourself or your family from someone who has entered your home to commit a felony, you're justified in using that level of deadly force. As we said, the habitation itself, that covers your home, it covers your car, and it covers your place of business. Mariana, run a couple of slides ahead for me here, please, ma'am. Let's see, the Castle Doctrine. So let's talk about your habitation being your castle. Now, the Castle Doctrine is not a specific law. It's a legal doctrine that's been around for hundreds of years, hence the castle reference. But the Castle Doctrine says, the concept itself says that you are the king or the queen of your castle. I have been called the village idiot of my castle from time to time. I really wish my 10-year-old wouldn't say things like that. While the Castle Doctrine itself does not appear in Georgia law, the concept is an ancient concept that does appear in our law, and it's referenced by our Stand Your Ground statute. No king or queen is required to retreat before using force or even deadly force against an intruder inside your castle. That's what the Castle Doctrine is. You can protect your castle from those who attempt to invade it. It's very simple, but it's very effective, and it is a part of Georgia law, even though it's not written into the law, and it's most heavily referenced in what we call our Stand Your Ground statute, which should be our next slide. If you're the intended victim of here we go. Official Code of Georgia 16-3-23.1. And this is paraphrasing the statute. A person who uses threats or force in defense of self or others, force in defense of habitation, where you live, where you work, or how you get to where you live and work, or force in defense of your personal property other than a habitation, not personal property, but it would be real property, property other than your habitation, the land that your home sits upon, or perhaps a rental property that you have. If you are defending yourself, another person, your habitation in any of those fashions, you have no duty to retreat. The law in Georgia does not require you to first seek an avenue of escape. If you're justified in using deadly force, you can stand your ground inside your home or outside your home and use deadly force, if deadly force is necessary, to protect yourself. So that's where the Castle Doctrine and Georgia law sort of intersect. The Castle Doctrine, meaning you're the king or queen of your castle, stand your ground, saying if you are king or queen of your castle, you do not have to flee the castle. You can stand your ground and you can protect your castle. And that's the law for everyone in the state of Georgia. Some states are different. So, as I tell people all the time, Georgia has done more to give back to you rights that existed in 1791 when the Bill of Rights was ratified than virtually any other state. So use those rights. If you don't use them, what's the use of having them? Carry a firearm when you're comfortable doing so. Protect your family when you're comfortable doing so. That's what these laws exist for.
Hey, Matt, can I interject for a second?
Absolutely.
Hey, we have a few questions from our attendees. We have a question from Jonathan, who wants to know, while living in an apartment building or a shared dwelling, what does he have to do to consider in terms of liability if a projectile goes through a wall into a neighboring home?
That's a very good question. Going through a neighboring home, if the police want to charge you with something, they could very well charge you with reckless conduct. Discharging a firearm in your home, knowing that you have paper thin walls and it might go through the wall or the roof or the floor or the ceiling, of another unit, that's a possibility. Now, your defense would be that you are protecting yourself, protecting someone else in your home from death or great bodily injury, protecting your habitation, using those levels of protection that the law has built in. But it's entirely possible that even if you do that, you could be charged with a crime. That's one of the most important things that I try and impress upon people. Even if you've acted appropriately, even if you've done everything you possibly could to defend yourself or your family, you could still be charged with a crime. Ultimately, you may not be found guilty. You may be justified in what you've done, but the fact is that in that moment, the police will make a decision. And if that decision is you're going to get arrested and you're going to get taken to jail, then you will get arrested and you will get taken to jail. So I would have to say, Jonathan, in that scenario, it's entirely possible that you could be charged. And I have actually represented people who have been charged in that fashion before. I've handled a lot of phone calls. Hey, my gun just went off. It just went through the wall of my apartment. Okay, well, do you know if your neighbor's home? That's very important. Maybe we should go knock on the door first to see if anyone's there. I've had to answer that phone call many, many, many times. And so what I can tell people is always know the condition of your firearm. If it is in condition 1, as we say, it's locked and loaded and ready to fire. Make sure that safety is on. As Tori mentioned, not all firearms have external safeties, Glock being the most prevalent. They have internal safeties, internal measures, I think at least 3 internal measures. And I've used experts in trial as a prosecutor. We brought an expert in from Glock who said, I have dropped a Glock, a loaded Glock with a chambered round from a helicopter at 300 feet, and it didn't just go off. So when you know that firearm is loaded, be careful. Use those rules, those NRA rules. Know the condition of your firearm. Don't put your finger on the trigger till you're ready to fire. Know what is beyond your target, and obviously don't point your firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy. I think that's one of the most important points, is always know the condition of your firearm.
Okay.
Do we have other questions?
Yeah, one more, a couple more actually. We have a question about using an RMR on your pistol. What if you're involved in a self-defense incident? Does the presence of an RMR or any kind of optic or anything like that affect, if you can be found more guilty? I don't know. How have you seen that play out?
That's a great question. So just to describe what an RMR is, and I do not have one on my firearm, and as you can see, this firearm is not loaded. Now this firearm has sights on it, and these are aftermarket sights. These are sights for old folks. They're really big, right? An RMR is an optic. It's a red dot sight that sits right here on the top of your pistol, the top of your rifle, the top of your shotgun. Everybody's got one these days, and I have several firearms at home that do have them. Tori's showing us a picture of an RMR. RMR is actually a Trigicon RMR. It's made by a specific company. The fact that you have one on your pistol, if a prosecutor wants to charge you badly enough, absolutely they can use that. You say, well, he obviously wanted to make sure he killed someone, so he wanted to have the most high performance optic he possibly could. The fact is, if you carry a fully loaded magazine of 15 rounds, prosecutor could say, well, all you needed was 2 rounds to defend yourself, so obviously you were just out for blood. If you use a 9mm versus a 22, a 9mm that has hollow point ammunition, these are not hollow point, these are not jacketed hollow points to a prosecutor. Prosecutors call these cop killer bullets. Why do they call them cop killer bullets? Because that type of language rings with jurors, right? Any fact, the fact that you've practiced 1,000 times with this pistol, the fact that you've only used it once, the fact that it's a 9mm and not a 45, the fact that it's a 45 and not a 22. If a prosecutor is dedicated towards trying to put you in jail, any fact, the fact that you have an RMR could be used against you. That's a fantastic question. It all depends on the circumstances of the shooting, the officer who responded, what you did, and most importantly, what you said. Never, ever, 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 ever talk to the police. Talk to your lawyer first.
All right.
What do you think, guys? So far, so good? Let's do this. Let's jump on into Lana. Lana Four is the regional director of U.S. Law Shield, which is a legal defense program that I actually have been the lawyer for here in Georgia now for almost 6 years. She's an NRA instructor, former NRA instructor herself. She's a transplant like most people in Georgia. It's hard to find anyone who's actually born here. I only know 2 kids, and those were my boys because I saw it happen at Northside Hospital. But Lana is a transplant from Colorado. She lives down in Savannah now. She's up in Atlanta all the time. Lana's going to talk to us for a few minutes about what to do after bang. After you've used a firearm to protect yourself or your family, what should you do? Lana, take it away.
Oh, we're getting Lana online.
There.
Can we hear?
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Way to go. Learning, I just constantly keep learning. After you go bang, so Mariana, if you don't mind going to that slide that has the wonderful page 4 in Matt's little coloring book. There we go. You know, make sure the threat's been controlled, right? So what we do as instructors is that we've always taught our students that you're not trying to stop, you're not trying to kill somebody, right? That word shouldn't even come out of your mouth. You're trying to stop the threat. So you're trying to stop whoever's hurting you from hurting you or your family or a third party. So what happens after that happens, right? After you had to stop the threat? Well, the first thing you want to do, of course, is call 911. You want to get them rolling. You want to get 911 coming, ambulance, fire trucks, you know, everybody come, tell them your location, your name, and then give them a description of what you're wearing. And then that should be it. You should hang up the telephone with 911. Now, I say that because this is where your rights come into play. And this is where you have to be able to stand on your 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th Amendments, right? And not talk to law enforcement. That is your right. And most people don't realize that. You know, we see police officers. We were raised, you know, when you see police officers, they have been the one you go to when you're in trouble. Unfortunately, they're doing their job too. So we need to understand how that works and where that fine line is. You know, officer, I'd love to comply with you, and I will give you a statement, but I'm waiting on my attorney. He's on his way, and that's where Law Shield comes into play. Law Shield protects you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. God forbid something happens and you have to stop the threat. Now, if that's someone breaking into your home, if that's you pumping gas at the gas station, in today's world, getting hit over the head with a wine bottle to take your toilet paper, I mean, that kind of stuff can happen. So that is what you have to worry about. That is where you have to be a member of U.S. Law Shield. We take care of you. We actually pay for your attorney fees, both criminally and civilly. No caps, no limits, no reimbursements, no deductibles. It's kind of amazing. And I got involved with this program because as an instructor myself, I taught my students the full circle. And I believed that so wholeheartedly. I did not tell a student of mine, so this is your sight alignment, sight picture, this is your grip, trigger, breath, breathing control. Okay, that's all fundamentals. Now this is how you take your gun apart. Now here's the laws in the state that we live in. Now here's blah, blah, blah. So as an instructor, that was my job. But my job is also to tell my student what happens after the bang. And and I always felt like as an instructor, it is my duty to tell them. I can't not tell my student, well, after you've stopped the threat, you're on your own. Have fun with that. Because you're going to be put through the legal system. We don't have a justice system. We have a legal system. And that's why Matt Kilgo is our independent program attorney for U.S. Law Shield. Which means you have a client-attorney relationship with Matt Kilgo. Matt and you have that relationship. U.S. Law Shield is not a part of it. U.S. Law Shield does not discuss your case. U.S. Law Shield Matt takes care of what he has to do with the member. So that is what's so nice about U.S. Law Shield. So at a time like now, and then a time like every other day, you need a program like this that will defend you and have your back and be in your corner. So that's why it's so important to have it. You want to make sure that you call Matt. So when you sign up with U.S. Law Shield, you're going to get a membership card. And it's a nice membership card. It's going to be made out of plastic. It has your name on it, and that's effective as of Tuesday. So wanted to let you guys know that when you sign up with US Law Shield, you're going to get that card, and it's going to be something you carry in your pocket. On the back of that card, you're going to have 2 phone numbers. The top number is Houston. You get to speak to English-speaking people. It's kind of cool. You have to change something. You want to add something. You want to add multi-state, bail bonds, gun owner identity, any of the add-ons that we have, because nothing with our membership is one size fits all. If you don't have children, you don't need to have minor child coverage. If you don't hunt or fish, you don't need to have hunting and fishing. Our hunter shield. So you don't need to have some things. If you don't need to have it, your flat rate is $10.95. So what is really cool about US Law Shield is that when you sign up, and during this webinar, if you sign up, just give me a call me directly or email me. My email is L4, so it's LFORE at uslawshield.com. Email me and I'll be able to take care of you. If you do an annual, you'll get 2 free months. Otherwise, you'll have the locked-in rate of $10.95. So it is something you can't, I had a lady that actually told me yesterday on the phone, she says, oh my gosh, I pay $15.99 a month for my Netflix. And I went, right, and we need that, right? Being in quarantine and everybody needs their Netflix. And I go, $15.99, but once somebody busts down your door, now what do you need? And she goes, wow, I never thought about it that way. Home invasions are going to go up, people. Criminals are going to be out there. Criminals, they don't stop. Just because there's a virus and then there's a COVID-19 does not mean they're not stopping. So we need to protect ourselves, be vigilant, pay attention, and definitely call me, email me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Lana.
You're welcome.
Did you see that video with the mayor of Houston, Texas? He
told all the criminals. I know, he told the criminals, please guys, stay home. Stay home during this horrible, give our officers a break here. I'm thinking, God, it was only that easy. I mean, why didn't we think of it? How crazy. But I did witness something the other night, and this was out of the police officers, and it's an undisclosed city here in Georgia. But I will tell you, when this guy got assaulted, it was a felony assault, and I asked the police officers what was going to happen, and they said nothing. We're not taking him to jail. If the good guy wants to do something about it, he needs to call the parole officer of the bad guy and tell on him. And I went, I'm sorry, last time I heard, when you get punched in the face and blood goes everywhere, that's really bad. Apparently they didn't take him to jail. They said there's no rooms and they're not going to do it. So
that was something you and your husband saw just this week, right?
That's right. And it was just crazy, man. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked.
It's a good reason to carry, I think.
It's fantastic. And Lana's always great for good information. Thank you, Lana, for coming on and talking just a little bit about what to do after bang. And folks, I can't tell you enough. Talk to your lawyer first. Anything you say will be used against you. So make sure that you have a plan in place to protect yourself after you've protected yourself. I've worked with Law Shield for a lot of years. It's a fantastic company. I had a lot of good clients through Law Shield. So we've done a lot of good work with them, and I appreciate Lana coming on and talking to you guys for a few minutes about that. We did have a couple other quick questions. Ruben asks, there was mention of carrying in your vehicle if someone does not have a carry license and is carrying in someone else's car. Is that covered? Absolutely. In Georgia, you can carry in another person's vehicle. As long as you're eligible for a weapons carry license, you don't have to have one. You never have to have a weapons carry license in your own car, and you can carry in another person's car as long as they give you permission and you're eligible for a weapons carry license, meaning over the age of 21, no felony convictions, no misdemeanor crimes of domestic violence, you're not on first offender probation. If you're eligible, Ruben, to carry a firearm, you don't need one in your car or anyone else's car with their permission. So that's a fantastic question, and it actually leads us into sort of our final inning. This has been our first webinar, our first webcast. Appreciate everybody coming out. We are doing it again next Friday night at 5:56 p.m. Next Friday night, we're going to talk about everyday carry. the things that folks in the know carry when they're out in public, and how they carry and how they respond to threats. At least two of our guests are going to be Jesse Fox of Women Protection Services. He's a firearms trainer. He's fantastic at what he does. I've seen some of his classes, and Jesse's amazing. And Mike Banja. Mike Banja is a police officer in Atlanta. He's a firearms expert. He trains law enforcement. He carries every day for his job and to protect his family. And so Mike and Jesse are going to be on to talk with us all about everyday carry. I think Lana's coming back to visit with us next week as well. I'd like to thank everyone involved, Tori, Don, Lana, Mariana. Guys, she put together a fantastic website in 3 days' time. So make sure you go to the 556.com. It will have updates on next week's webinar. We're going to start posting podcasts there. There'll be links to US Law Shield. We can put a link up to Alpha Bravo. There'll be a link to my website, georgiagunlawyers.com, and to our Facebook page, Georgia Gun Lawyers. So please visit all of these sites, ask us questions. Come back next week. We're going to go ahead and start posting information for next week as soon as we're done here. Anybody have any parting shots? Anything we need to get out of here before we get off?
I think I forgot to put down my phone number. If anyone wants to write my phone number down, my number is 719-287-8890. Call me. I'll get you signed up.
Lana, give them that number one more time.
719-287-8890.
Look for Lana, look for US Law Shield online and on Facebook. Look for Tori and Alpha Bravo Armory on Facebook and online. Look for Don at Adventure Outdoors and firearms training at Adventure Outdoors specifically. Don does a fantastic job instructing new gun owners. And believe it or not, there will be a time when you can leave your house and go to the range. There's so many fantastic things that we can do with this platform. There's so many amazing guests that we can have on. Todd Droege with Go to Firearms Safety. Bruce Greenfield with Georgia Carry. I am taking Bruce's name in vain. I've mentioned him like 4 times. I'm always nervous when Bruce is watching because I know he knows the law and he's watching the things that I say. My mom's watching again. Hi, Mom and Dad. The kids at home are watching. Thanks, everybody, so much. We hope to see you back next week. There will be a link available for this webcast, so you can download the webcast. Give us just a couple hours to get that straightened out. We probably won't use Eventbrite again for the webinar, but we will use the 556.com. So go there every week, sign up through the 556.com. I sure hope you had a good time. Please send us some good comments and vibes, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody. How do you turn this thing off?
Am I unmuted?